The Way of Cain. Their Eden home was now a distant memory. Adam and Eve, because of sin, they had to flee. Angels guarded the entrance to this place. From God they had tried to hide their face. Their new surroundings were now cruel and harsh. To get food, it was now manual labor, a hard task. Bringing forth children was to be a great pain, as they welcomed to the world Abel and Cain. These two boys were very different indeed. Abel saw justice and mercy, the Creator's kind deeds. Cain, on the other hand, questioned justice and authority. The two learnt of the same God about his sovereignty. Adam and Eve must have taught them well. Of the fall, their mistakes, their sins to tell. The system of offerings they learnt and understood. To believe and obey, God wanted to see if they would. The two brothers erected their altars the same, and each also brought for himself an offering. Abel, the keeper of sheep, brought his lamb around. Cain, the gardener, brought all the best fruit of the ground. Fire flashed from heaven, the lamb sacrifice accepted, but the fruits just sat there, no sign from heaven, rejected. But Cain, you know it's a lamb we should bring, without the spilling of blood. You have the wrong offering. No matter how red the juice of the pomegranate or beet may be, 'tis the spilt blood of the lamb that is acceptable and holy. You know this. Mom and Dad told us so. But you choose your own way to go. Despite Abel's appeal, Cain became really mad. Resentment grew in his heart. This made God sad. Cain's gift expressed no real sorrow for sin. He trusted his own merits. His salvation he thought to win. He presented his fruits, the product of his labor. But this did nothing to gain the Lord's favor. He obeyed by building an altar and bringing a sacrifice. But his partial obedience to fully obey, he thought twice. Both of these brothers were sinners for sure. Both acknowledged God to reverence, worship, and adore. And outwardly, their religion the same, to a certain degree. But beyond this, the difference was great, certainly. By faith, Abel offered to God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain. He saw sin and its penalty, death his soul to stain. Cain had the same opportunity to accept these truths, yep. But his unbelief and rebellion determined his next step. When Cain saw that his offering was rejected, and Abel could not convince him to get it corrected, Cain killed his brother out there in the field, and the wages of his sin soon to yield. Cain was angry at God for not accepting his way, and angry at his brother for his choosing to obey. Instead of joining him in his outright rebellion, God had a plan for Cain, according to his wisdom. God did not leave Cain to himself, not at all. He already knew all that would happen after the fall. Yet, he stopped to reason with this unreasonable guy. Why are you angry, and your countenance fallen? Why? If you do what is right, you will be accepted. But if you do what is wrong, you will be rejected. Sin is crouching at the door waiting to have you, but you need to rule and control it too. Now Cain the murderer was soon called to answer for the crime of killing his own brother. What have you done? Cain had time to reflect. The Bible does not mention if he ever wept. He knew the terrible deed he had done. God already knew. Where could he run? Yet he answered, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? Trying hard not to lie and be clever. Then God from heaven was heard all around. The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. The consequences were no longer delayed, for another message to Cain God had relayed. So now you are cursed from the earth, God said, which opened its mouth as Abel's blood ran red. No longer its crops to yield if you work or till. A restless wanderer you will be on earth until. My punishment is too much for me, Cain had been cursed. God is still merciful. His punishment could have been worse. Cain lived only to harden his heart even more. The head of a line of bold sinners, corrupt and sore. So in all ages the wicked hate those better than them. They never like when their evil deeds you condemn. For those practicing evil hate the light, sins on display. Satan's anger will be kindled even in the last day. It also boils down to an issue of obedience and worship, in spirit and in truth. Or is it just mouth and lip? Similar altars, the churches, the sacrifice, a day. But some worship on Sunday when it should be Saturday. Man's way seen in Cain, in Abel, God's way. The wrong approach, wrong attitude, and the wrong day. The spirit of rebellion from the devil through Cain. Wicked men have shown this same spirit again and again. Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain. People like this need the cleansing power of God to regain the loss of trust in the redemptive and saving power. The great controversy on display, Christ against the devourer. All those who rejected the divine precepts of God have instead placed their allegiance to Satan, their Lord. All who have united with him share in his fate, a fiery destruction to come, not heaven's gate. God will deal with evil on his grand return, to reward those who through Christ's blood have earned a place in God's everlasting kingdom, heaven to gain. But woe to those who have gone the way of Cain.